This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you an exclusive interview with Anna Roy, Senior Advisor, Niti Aayog on Women Empowerment and Women-Led Development. Interviewer is Lalima Aneja Dan, AIR correspondent.
Well, as a nation, India has been making waves in the world of women's rights, especially in the recent years. The principle of gender equality is enshrined within the Constitution of India, and the government has always been committed to promoting gender equality in all sectors and levels of governance. We shall now be talking to Ms. Anna Roy, Senior Advisor, Niti Aayog. Welcome to the studio, ma'am.
Thank you for having me, Lalima, and really look forward to this discussion.
Right, ma'am. How do you see this journey of India as a nation that is fast moving from the paradigm of women's development to women-led development?
I would see as a new trajectory in our reform agenda, and I have been in the government for now several decades, and based on my experience, I see this mindset change of government, rather than deciding things for others, moving to a phase where it is creating the enabling framework which presents opportunities to all segments of the society. So hence, this change which I see in the past a few years is moving to a scenario where you are as good as your capabilities to leverage the opportunities. And government being the catalyst, government being the enabler to provide you with all means to help you achieve your goals, rather than deciding for you through various measures, whether affirmative or otherwise, that this is what you need to do for a certain kind of development scenario, which also government in a top-down manner decides. So, for me, it is a bottom-up approach. For me, it is a vision where government is an enabler, a catalyst. And as our Honorable Prime Minister says, less government, more governance. And also this new, shift which has been further highlighted by India in the 8 priority areas of its G20 presidency is women-led development. Rather than focusing on the principles when we say women development.
Absolutely, ma'am. That's true that it's a wonderful phrase that shift from women's development to women-led development. And we do see that it has been well encapsulated in, as you said, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's remark at the G20 summit in Bali that global development is not possible without women's participation, and India will give priority to women-led development in its G20 agenda. What's your view on this?
Absolutely. As I said, the government, when it came to power in 2014, since then we are witnessing this change in all sectors, where the beneficiary becomes the principal, and it is a very user-centric approach of governance. I again come back to the oft-repeated phrase, and I keep on using it in all my interactions, as against a top-down approach, a bottom-up approach. And we see the first major initiative which the government announced, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, inclusive growth.
Yes.
And how do we start there? We start by including the larger populace within the formal financial sector who have for years been outside of this sector and been subjected to the various melees of non-formal financial players. So that was the starting point, and today we see that happening in all spheres, in all sectors, in all areas, where the final beneficiary becomes the principal, and all the policies are outcome-oriented with the aim of directly benefiting the targeted beneficiary through various means, removing leakages, and leveraging technology effectively to achieve this goal. So when we talk about women-led development, it is, going beyond just affirmative moves like giving reservation. It is giving them the opportunities where they can kind of realize their aspirations. So when I talk about opportunities, then how does it come? By becoming more self-sustaining, by becoming more confident. When you are able to, transact your own business financially, when you are able to be a part of the entire procurement business of the government. And once all that is done, then you have the means, you have the information. So that entire thing about women empowerment has been effectively now translated on the ground by giving opportunities to women and making them, empowering them in the truest sense.
We've also seen, ma'am, that when the Honorable Prime Minister talked about the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao initiative from Panipat, we also saw that the result of that is that according to the 2021 census, now we have a gender ratio which favors women. We have 1,020 women for every 1,000 men, and that itself is a huge success story. Taking the argument further, ma'am, when you talk about women empowerment, on the one hand, we have right now people like Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman as the First Lady Defence Minister, the First Lady Finance Minister. On the other hand, we have self-help groups which are led mostly by women. We have a Ministry of Cooperation which is headed by the Home Minister himself, Mr. Amit Shah. And again, the self-help groups under the cooperatives led largely by women. What do you say about that?
I want to focus more on the philosophy of the government while rolling out its various reform agenda. And when it says Nari Shakti, it really means empowering through knowledge, through opportunities, and really enabling them to reach out and achieve their goals. Now, the point which you made about SHGs, etc., is very important. In this, I would like to give an anecdotal reference. I'm the mission director of Women Entrepreneurship Platform, which was ideated and incubated in NITI Aayog, and today it is successfully operational as a public-private partnership where all ecosystem players have joined hands to achieve a common goal of bringing a robust women entrepreneurial ecosystem. So there we have a two-tier governance structure mechanism in place. The top one is the leadership committee, which we call steering committee. And so far it has met once. And in that committee, we had made a presentation where we gave some data points which usually are available. And we indicated this thing about women entrepreneurship. Where does India feature in index, which is brought out by some organizations? And India is kind of at a lower end. And this is what was pointed out by the co-chair, Ms. Sangeeta Reddy. She is the co-chair of WEP steering committee. And she called it out and said, look, our models are very different from the Western model. And that is where SHGs, FPOs come in.
Right.
So how do you define entrepreneurship itself is a moot question. And we were given this task to bring out a well-researched document on the definition of women entrepreneurship in the country. And this is where, like in my earlier comments also, I spoke about a bottom-up approach. You know, our situation is very unique and we cannot be measured as per the, matrix which are prepared on the Western economy.
Right.
This year in the budget, Madam Finance Minister have introduced many new initiatives for access to finance, for skilling, for all these cooperative groups. We have a separate Ministry of Cooperation to aim at this because this is a very uniquely Indian business model and we must focus them when we measure women entrepreneurship in the country.
You made a very, very important point. A lady who is having a rehri is also an entrepreneur to a great extent. I was just thinking of Jaswanti-ben Jamna Das Popat, the Papad lady, as we call her, to Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, the biotech lady. Both are entrepreneurs, but on a different scale. And that is why we have so much, despite the diversity that we have, diversity of cultures, diversity of business models, we have made a huge success. We also have schemes like Mudra Loan, Ujjwal Yojana, where even the woman, forget the entrepreneurship, but even the lady who's at home cooking, she's empowered with a gas cylinder. What do you say to that, ma'am?
Why are you missing out on the, Swachh Bharat?
Absolutely.
And, the entire sanitation drive. Who is a biggest, sufferer of this open defecation? The women who have to get up when there is no sunlight. She's exposed to all kinds of dangers. The thing is, for the leader of the country to make that as one of the flagship interventions to begin with, that itself shows the importance that Honorable Prime Minister gives to Nari Shakti not just in words but in action. He understands the pain of the woman, I feel.
Absolutely.
And that is why, we are having these schemes. These are very, very targeted, very thought through interventions with as I said, making the beneficiary the principal.
Right. You put it very nicely. A few years ago, nobody would have thought that empowering women would mean having a toilet for her in a house where she wouldn't have to go outside to answer nature's call in awkward hours. Well, ma'am, as we see that we have made progress, whether it's the, as you said, bottom-up approach, we have the self-help groups on the one hand, and we have startups and MSME sector where women are being empowered through loans. Do you think we are now poised to talk about, or why just talk about, I would say spearhead gender equality, talking about the aspirations of women as well, and taking it forward as a presidency of the G20 nations?
So it is already being done. We have W20, where Ministry of Women and Child, under the very, very able leadership of our Honorable Minister, who herself, her life journey presents, you don't need role models from outside. Her own life journey presents role model for all aspiring women who want to overcome their individual challenges and, achieve their goals.
Mm-hmm.
Under W20, then there are other breakaway groups like Empower 20 and many other groups where women-led development is the core.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have been associated with Empower 20 because WEP is being considered as one of the public digital infrastructure which India can offer as a mentorship platform to the other G20 countries. And Dr. Sangeeta Reddy in her, inaugural address in the inception of Empower 20 also announced it. And I am working on that, on how we can further develop it and present it as a mentorship platform. So already we are working on it with not just with having a communique. Having a communique is like something which happens from year to year. India in its very typical way is working towards an actionable communique, not just some well-meaning and well-sounding good kind of statements. So this communique is supposed to have actual actionable initiatives. I'm not aware of all the initiatives because I'm not associated with all of these interventions. I'm associated with a very small one particular about, presenting this as a public good, a mentorship platform. So similarly, I'm sure a series of other such interventions are being planned. So we are, as I think the government of India is taking this very seriously and going out of the way to leverage this opportunity of presidency of G20 to present to the world our successes, where we have succeeded, where we have hits, and develop best practices and use cases and blueprints which can be replicated in the other constituencies globally, and people can benefit from our experience. So I think it's a I expect it to be a very, very action-oriented presidency. And I expect to see a lot of, initiatives which will be taken forward to their logical conclusion in near future.
Right. Thank you very much, Ms. Anna Roy, for talking to us. You indeed talked a lot about the policies of the government and gave us a very good insight into the government's efforts. We do see that there is a past percentage of girls which has always been higher than boys. We see women breaking the glass ceiling, being pilots, entrepreneurs, chefs, being in the army. Now they're in the forefront, civil services and much more. Well, thank you very much, ma'am, for being with us, and best wishes.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to an exclusive interview with Anna Roy, Senior Advisor Niti Aayog on Women Empowerment and Women-Led Development. Interviewer was Lalima Anija Dang, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.